So, hello to anybody who's here. It's a very happy Easter day. Um, I do not celebrate anything regarding Christianity. However, I do have a high belief in creativity. So I do want to say happy holiday to everybody who is celebrating. I hope you had an awesome day today. And as we move into back into business tomorrow, I have a couple of things that I'd like to share. This particular live is for me to have a recognition of any edits that are necessary. Further, offer those who are here, who are actually listening, opportunity to give any ideas for this. This is something that I want to go nationwide, and so I'm preparing to make this one of the offers for the schools so that they're capable of utilizing this particular chart for educational purposes. Um, and so as I continue, I will the first the major I want to say categoric creative portion of the document is complete, and that is the first portion, the fifth column, and the sixth column. The center is sheer reference material. Um, there's with the aside from I think aside from two lines. Everything else is specifically from my mind, my creativity, and I want to offer this as a strategy for educational purposes, display, as well as for conditioning, which I am seeding without manipulation. I want to make sure that anybody who has an understanding for what's going on comprehends how important it is for the school students to have an understanding that this is occurring. Okay? So, with that, take mental note that this particular document, as completed, will begin to actually offer itself its own value. I have given away several portions of this document to different people. First, people, a school. Second, family members. Third, some extremely close friends. Um, if you receive one of these with a mistake on it, that's I believe what actually creates its value. That's your actual connection to me. You know where you got it from. I would advise that you don't give it to anyone. You don't make any copies except for one copy for yourself to add it to a collection. Uh, as I continue, I'm going to be creating different colors and putting other mascots on it so that it has a direct connection to pride with particular organizations. Right now, I am just notifying people of the live. With that said, I'm going to go ahead and start this off. I appreciate anybody who's here, anybody who joins me. Note that I'll be doing this week for the reparations interim. Back to, I guess we have a little bit more of a video to go, and then we'll be getting back to the read on Wednesday. Okay, so again, we're going to keep in mind also what this is connected to, reparations, and California Task Force just had their meeting 29th of March, carried over into the 30th of March, and so I'm just listening to the people and critiquing their performance. So anybody that is interested in becoming a speaker, coming in and reading aloud, you're more than welcome. Just let me know ahead of time so I can set up a different view, and we're capable of organizing so that my display fits you as well, and we're able to communicate during the broadcast. So, with that, I have come to that completion stage where I am now going to go ahead and critique my own performance by reading aloud. I think this thing has extremely beautiful detail, and I think it encompasses several aspects of, of, of artistic value, especially visually, with the inclusion of three-dimensional type graphics and state-of-the-art software. This portion right here, I think I'm going to say is not complete yet. I want it to be a little bit closer to the other format. So I'm going to be tweaking this a little bit to make it look a little bit more desirable from my vision. I don't like the contrast between this particular gray and the red, and the other gray was kind of dark. So I want to bring it back to that stance, and then probably bigger puzzle pieces. Plus I want it to be something that actually matches all colors. I think gray is probably the only actual color that you're able to use. You can actually find a color that matches all different colors. And it's not that this one doesn't match either. So I mean, I want to come up with a look that's a little, tweak it just a little bit, make it a little bit better look. I think bigger puzzle pieces would do that for me. Other than that, I think these are ready for read and explanation. So this is specific to color schema right now. And so I want to go through each section and offer an understanding for what it is that I'm trying to get across with what I'm saying. Also, I am doing this in order for my editing purposes. I can catch the edit during the live. Again, if anybody is interested or has any, they're able to see any mistakes that I'm not capable of actually seeing, I appreciate it. If you get in contact with me and do it in my inbox, so that I'm aware of what it is that you're seeing. So this is the one I'm going to start with. this is the sixth column of the chart. Forms of reparations. And it says, although time of occurrence may differ, the objectives and the objectives are listed in order of progress and priority. And just hold on for me a quick second. I'm going to throw my earplugs in. Somebody is screaming out. It sounds like they're outside. You can't hear background noise through this mic unless you amplify it. So, see here. I hate this because it takes away one of my senses. I gotta be, in tune specifically to this. I can't hear if any emergency occurs. So, let's see. Number one, free the unjustly incarcerated. It's a very important thing that you understand that these objectives are listed order of priority. And I'll explain as I go along. Most unwarranted suffering is within continued slavery. And continued slavery occurs in the United States in the employment sector as well as the incarceration sector, but they're suffering the worst. They're not receiving a fair income. A lot of them are incarcerated not due to their own recognizances. Systematic issue has occurred in order to cause the incarceration. And so, with that said, a lot of these people need to be released. And I think it needs to come to a technical understanding for who is released and who is offered the ability to progressively come out with lesser charge. So I would say free all non-violent and all misdemeanor prisoners. 2, actual well-being. I have a star there. It actually does depict universal portion of this. This is what we need to come to an understanding for as a whole. When I depict something universal, there is definitely a reason for it to be established. 1, pushback. The issue of pushback is diminished when there is an application of something that is universal. 2, the universal portion of the projection is not necessarily regarding reparations. It's a humanistic instance that needs to be set in the foundation to offer reparations properly, as well as enable our successful will to keep our reparations. We need to form a proper understanding that we've been devalued for not being offered the specifics. And it is us and it is them that is deserving of what we call well-being. Unfortunately, it's so systematic that normally we end up at the bottom and we don't receive it. Let's see here. So all primary and secondary, dominant and passive needs. We need to also fully rewrite the United States Constitution and the Bill of Rights, which goes under our systematic needs, our need for a system. Okay? The biggest problem with the Constitution and Bill of Rights, it's not humanized. We keep adding stuff to add another sector of argument. We keep allowing them to let us think that it's okay for it to remain in the fashion that it is. It's not okay. It needs to be rewritten. Okay? And in order for us to actually keep our reparations and to continue in the fashion that we are and to receive proper reparations, it needs to be rewritten properly. It needs to be humanized. Okay? And so, when I say humanized, technicality might become the border. It might become the amount of time that someone's been here. But the reality is a person has been born to the United States and has been not capable of reaching his grand potential due to the way that the Constitution and the Bill of Rights are written. And as many times as they've had to have brought this thing through AI, we still haven't been notified of a change in the Bill of Rights and the Constitution. Almost as if that can't be done yesterday. It has to be done on some grand fucking schema to create some goddamn will to receive money in order to revise or to have somebody as a running candidate. Right? That's our systematic well-being being fucked with all of this time because somebody needs to have that as a way to receive the position of candidate. Under well-being, I have health and dental, free health maintenance, cleaning, care, mental health, parental planning, and safe sex, all which come under a form of universal well-being. Okay? Something everybody should accept. Bear in mind that there will be specific items that are directly for descendants of enslavement. Okay? There's a payback that needs to take place, transfer of wealth that needs to be adhered to. Okay, but I'm first gonna allow me to read the universal arguments. The second universal argument is free utilities, water, electric, gas, sewer, maintenance, garbage removal, internet, Wi-Fi, public transportation. All of these universal understandings for things that cater to our senses, cater to our speed, cater to our foundation. Okay? And we will get to how all of this will be paid for as well. Okay? So let's not keep out of the understanding that this shit, money doesn't grow on trees. It doesn't create itself. Value doesn't just come out of nowhere. Okay? I am an entrepreneurial spirit. I'm a motherfucking boss. Alright? So I don't just start speaking for absolutely no reason. When I come up with this information, it's not because I don't believe that it's necessary and I don't know what's coming next. Without all of this applied properly, we are causing ourselves a redundance for receipt of reparations. With all of this applied, we are literally capable of ending up back in the same position without a way of coming out of it. Third, and most importantly, in the transition into what we would consider an intelligent society and the new economy, what we would call the New World Order, we have to be able to compete as human beings. Period. We cannot compete with a fucking AI robot. There was a projection that an AI robot has actually murdered United States soldiers. We do not compete. Okay? Especially without training. Military training. physically. We can't compare to something that might encompass a very hard surface for combat purposes. And that's not to say that it might turn on us for combat, but also mentally, how do you expect, if you can't even compete with a regular computer, how do you expect to compete with a computer like quantum? And you gotta have this as an understanding for why this is necessary. We have been forced as descendants of slaves to the bottom of the economy constantly when we are the fastest runners, the more genius of thought process. It's a force. We control our body the best in every sport. As long as we get into it, we dominate the sport. As long as we become a part of it, we dominate it. Since we can't afford skis, we don't get involved in it. We don't like the, what do you call it, the risk factor either. When it becomes way too dangerous, we kind of tendency to stay away from it. The reality of the situation, every sport we dominate. So with that, those are the factors in number 2 that need to be considered. And again, this is a passive thought. This is not a direct part of forms of reparations. These are things that are necessary for foundation to begin with. Okay? It might as well become inclusive within our understanding today. All right? Let's take it a step further. The things that are direct for us within well-being. Grants for free education to a master's degree. And also, that has a GPA requirement. And then care, service, and apprenticeship training. And of course, with a bachelor's degree, universal. And then next, regarding well-being, we take grants for full paid newly built homes. 2,000 square feet for a single individual. And then a choice for either or, 2,000 square foot built home for adults over a certain age, or a family built 4,000 square foot home. Stone built. Okay? Now that is the well-being part. That includes shelter, there's education there, there's health there, there is our speed, it caters to our senses, everything is set there. Right? Let's go on to our establishment portion. Business startups, bailouts, and investment grants. Okay? So with that, I think in the very beginning we want 6-month commerce grants. We want data collection. We want prototype funds. And we want business and marketing plan, teaching and established through the system that enables success. Okay? We want entertainment, broadcast, and productions funding. Also, we want training in social media, blockchain, security cloud meta education. Okay. Um, and with your grants for business, there's all of this business, blockchain, security, cloud, meta. We want an uh, we want an education and assessment stipulation in place. Okay. I don't want to just be giving away funds for people who are proven incapable. This is for those of us who have a proven excellence in understanding. There's several individuals who have been in position of all kinds who have been incapable of taking that position and assisting. Okay, and will offer you all kinds of excuses, including your children, who will end up suffering in the same position if these things don't change. Okay. So keep that in mind when they start offering you excuses. Oh, I have kids, this, or that, and the other thing. Bullshit. It's your child that's affected by you not understanding these things, by you not being in position to make a change. I couldn't be there because you were getting beat up or spit on. Ass niggas. Number 4. Employment transitioning training. And this does include another universal argument, and it has to do with training into the workforce. Okay, but this also includes people who are in prison, people who are coming out of college. And I mean, this is an everybody thing as well. And with this, I need you to form an understanding, another understanding for this. Um, excuse me. I'm not capable of seeing my live. Okay, I need to make sure that I'm on and this thing is moving. So, with an employment transitioning training, this is an understanding that I was able to gather through Mr. O'Shea Jackson Senior. That's Ice Cube for those of us who are real hip hop heads. Um, the employment transitioning training needs to take place for everyone. Okay, and that means we need to revise the entire structure of corporate world. Um, we need to actually be running the temp and the employment services. We actually need to be the owners. So that's where the reparations part comes in. We actually take over that particular sector. There's been problems getting into employment. And so that's a major factor regarding what's happening today. There will be individuals who are capable of starting their own businesses, right? And there's a natural factor that comes into play when it comes to a positive or negative group. Okay? But in hindsight, this racial indifference, we need to start controlling that. We need to make that a changing understanding. We need to start deflecting and diminishing racism, period. So that the progressive factor is within the person's actual ability and what they offer versus somebody in position that enables their success, which is what's been constant in the past. Okay? Well, one person is in position, getting all kinds of money. They're causing 100 people to suffer. Right? Passively. This can no longer be happening. So what we do is we take over the employment sector of the argument and make it a center position. Okay? Within that position, we're going into the temporary services and employment services, and we are acquiring the structures so that the people that we are training can be trained properly for particular positions. These positions will be company specific. Okay? So what we'll be doing is diminishing the hiring management in the company. The funds that go there will go to this organization. We will be diminishing the training that goes on within the company. That information and training will take place in an employment transitioning facility. The HR within, we will be diminishing that. We will be replacing HR because HR also does not work. And we'll be replacing that with something else. And I've already thought of that as well. Okay? With that said, we'll be taking over all employment services. And so that is another form of reparations that is going on right in the community, where anyone, if you're coming out of prison, if you're coming out of college, you have got to go through the training transition process for the organization that you're applying. And the company doesn't get to decide who is hired at the organization. The employment transitioning training facility does. So they have two choices. They hire from within, or they hire through the employment transitioning training service. If somebody within has a friend, they have to go through the employment transitioning training in order to get into the established organization. Okay. Number 5. 5 acres of land. 5 acres of personal land to all descendants of enslavement. Okay. And it has to be on good foundation. Okay. I know some people were talking about 40 acres is still a good idea. I know it is. You are not lying. But I think if there's enough adults in the family, it does become over 40 acres, and you're able to put it together in a fashion that enables your possibilities. Okay. Number 6, defund and reconstruct the police department. Police department is a complete waste of money, a complete waste of time. I have actually written that properly inside of A Leap and a Fall. What it considers is the math that you would actually do and compare it to that offering to families instead of offering it to the police. So it is to say, in Minnesota, I think we have 10,000 police officers. I think 75% of them are incompetent anyway. They shouldn't even be in position. They don't do their job. They're not willing to follow through. They're not willing to keep the peace. They're not willing to help. And so whatever it is that they need to do to start training for something different, or to be starting a business, or to be doing something that contributes positively to society, even whether it be just their actual offer of well-being, or establishing another governmental position, or something where they're actually truly contributing. These sectors of argument, both police as well as departments of justice, labor, human rights, and economic assistance, all need to be diminished and replaced. Period. Right now, they're telling me I'm going to be receiving $23 in food stamps every month. I am actually receiving aside from my Social Security, no other income while I'm actually doing this work and looking for employment. In a state of poverty, they are offering me $23 a month now for food. Okay? I'm tired of arguing with them. Know that I have gotten in contact with every civil rights organization possible. I've gotten in contact with all legislature in my state to let them know that this is occurring. I have gotten in contact with them over and over again, and every time I've gotten in contact with them, they've gotten in contact with this Department of Economic Assistance, and they have actually made the change. But they've had to do it over and over again. Right? On top of that, these organizations don't report to me what I'm going to be receiving long term so I can plan 5 or 10 years ahead. They notify me within the month so that I end up struggling the next month and end up back in the same position begging them for food. They keep doing this so that I accept a lower salary than I deserve. Or reach for a gun. Or reach for drugs. But I have that as an understanding. And then I say to myself, you know what, I'm not going to let them push me to do that. Let's see what they do. And I'll just continue to report. I'm not going to be arguing with the people in position that don't give a shit if this is happening to them. Over and over again. Just not going to do it. So, with that said, defunding and reconstructing the police department. Security is necessary. Keeping the peace is necessary. But if you do the math, the funds that go into the police department, the amount of funds that go into the salary of one individual could house and shelter an entire family of 4 for 20 to 30 years. One police officer could house and shelter an entire family, offer them full well-being for 20 to 30 years. Do the math. The amount of tax money that is wasted in the police department is unfucking believable. On top of the fact that the amount of tax money that goes into the Department of Justice and fees that it costs in order for us to apply for a civil lawsuit or to try to get out of a particular position. All of that money is going into the pockets of the people who are making the decisions. And they have failed conclusively on a consistent basis to make proper decisions. And when their decision-making capability leads to you getting away with standing up for your rights versus offering you a conclusive settlement for a violation that occurs through the corporate environment, when they perpetrate a violation against you and they don't offer you a settlement, it's a further waste of your time. It causes you to end up in the position that you were and then decline. Okay? And cahoots or collaboration, all of these motherfuckers don't do shit to help. Department of Justice, Department of Labor, you report to them over and over again. They take that money. When they find a company, they take that money. They don't give it to you after you reported them. Over and over again, I've reported companies to the Department of Labor. They're not doing shit to help. And most of them can't even direct you who to complain to. You get in contact with them, there's a problem, huh? Who do you complain to? They tell you who to complain to, and still, once you know who to complain to, same fucking thing. We need to dismantle and reconstruct the Department of Justice, the Department of Labor, the Department of Human Rights, and the Department of Economic Assistance. Period. Okay? If we don't, then we're going to find ourselves conclusively in the same position that we were for the last 200, 300 years. Number 8, foundational wealth and cash payments. So I have a list of assets and new economy that should be in place for this. It's also an actual understanding where you're able to check for historic value of each of these assets, from their foundations to what they're made of, to literally the sector of concern that they've applied, and why they are a revolutionary type asset, all the way up to the fact that gold and silver are a foundation to the United States dollar. Okay. So I have them listed in that fashion so that you're able to actually form an educated understanding for what they are, where they come from, where they spawn, and what their position is in the blockchain, and then to Booyah. Okay? And so the amount that we're talking about is such a grand amount that there's going to need to be established some type of leverage. Okay, because $1 million, we're talking, how much are we talking here, right? We're talking about figures that are extremely large, okay, right? And so my calculation at the low side is $250 billion, okay, and I think that ends up being close to $6 million per adult. With that said, we can't expect cash for the entire thing. It's just virtually impossible. Okay? I mean, let's just be real about this. We're talking about an economy that exists, an economy that we're accepting. Okay? We're not talking about the fact that we're getting into the economist sector and changing these things. We're not talking about actually forming a new blockchain for us specifically. Okay, we're talking about contributing to an entire nation of growth. We're talking about being a part of an entire country. We're talking about actual understanding for what has happened in the past and what needs to change to offer it growth. Right. So we need to look further into how to accept an understanding for a settlement that includes other forms of reparations. Some people have stated their discernment, their separation for an acceptance of education, which is completely understood. We should also be accepting non-tax payments from the country that has breached our contract for well-being for 500 years. That includes planning, development, and all forms of slavery and racism. No, not to pay taxes on our homes or our land. No auto insurance, to have auto insurance. So all these things, and credit restoration, all this stuff needs to also be paid for. Okay? This is not form an organization or we get reparations and it's 100% free, and these organizations just pay out of pocket for our delusional understanding for what's actually happening here. Insurance is necessary because it goes into a pot and enables our ability to pay for our health care if we end up in an accident. Okay? And if the accident's not our fault, then the other person's insurance actually takes care of it. But in order for us, this is the point, in order for us to receive these things, they have to be paid for. Okay? So this is what is the major concern when we start saying that we're going to do this, that, and the other thing. There's no plan involved. There's nothing, no understanding. And when you don't have the education to understand the economic issue, then we don't have a comprehensive understanding together. We fall apart. We don't want that to happen, right? So that's why I'm offering this in this fashion. It has to be conditioned in the educational system so that they have a comprehensive understanding for what's coming, so that they're able to plan ahead of what's coming, so that they can continue to be stable as well. Right? And so lastly, for our own protection, we have a specific ID, a secure federal ID, that we use as a payment method. It identifies us as Indigenous. Identifies Indigenous advancement of African descendants of slavery. Okay. And so I'll need to make a correction there. I see. Right. So I just want to make sure that we have this as a comprehension. We don't want to make a mistake here. This is this is our chance to make things right, man. As long as we're a part of the United States, we owe ourselves. Okay, the restore and replenish portion. This is a restore and replenish portion, man, and this is a lot of symbolization, but it offers a great understanding for what is taking place, what has taken place, and how to make the repair. Okay, and I'm doing that with pictures. You're able to actually see this with several icons. It offers numbers and statistics understanding from the amount of time that it should take for us to be fully restored, which I would say by the next century we should be fully restored, and that includes replenishment of the United States economy. Okay. Further, have an understanding for the average income, right? And the percentage that reside in the middle of the national average versus where we reside, right here on the low side. In order for us to be restored, it'll be right here. Okay? 82,000 a year. Plus. So it'll be between $82,000 and $245,000 a year. Okay? And so, again, the stability factor regarding with the changing economy and the people that'll be entering into the United States, there has to be an understanding that resides, okay? And that doesn't necessarily mean that these people should dwell in the very bottom receiving free money. It means that the way the economy is set up, it always fluctuates, and as it fluctuates, sometimes we need to get rid of employees, and so they receive less income. And if they're receiving less income, there should never be a question of whether or not they have a way of surviving immediately. And therefore, in order for our government to continue, for there to be leadership within, they should automatically prioritize the citizen. I don't believe in what they talk about socialism. I don't believe in what the heck was that called? Marxism. I don't believe in any of that other stuff, man. I'm a capitalistic understanding. So when I start saying, "Oh, these people should be having," I don't need to hear that moron attitude come out of his fucking brain talking about, well, then you're a socialist. I think you just are failing to understand what needs to be going on here. All the way back then, and systematically, they start trying to tell your ass that, well, it's already in place. And you just get to get a chapter 50, 70,000, and once that applies in 5 years, then you'll be okay. I'm not going for it, man. I'm done arguing with the moron that gets in position and says it's okay for them to sit there absorbing my fucking money. Some of these guys get in there, and this is voluntary, and still don't do anything to help. Okay? So these are icons, foundational, to form an understanding what needs to be, primary needs. What we need to be catering to is our primary needs, systematic needs, our basic needs, and our secondary needs. All of them combined need to be catered to in emergency situations as well as the fall of an economy. Okay? And so there should never be a worry of whether or not you have shelter, food, and water. Should never, and when I say food, I don't just mean food, I mean nourishment. I'm not talking about fucking cow. I'm not talking about, goddamn it, what did they feed us? How was that called? Chitterlings? Like it was our decision to go and kill a pig and gut that motherfucker and pull the intestines out that bitch that have shit in it. Man, come on, bro. Can we be reasonable? Are you kidding me? That was our decision. You got life fucked up if I decided that shit. You got life fucked up if I wasn't forced to see you kill a motherfucking animal, rip the fucking guts out that motherfucker, and then tell me to fucking feed that to the fucking slaves. You must be out your motherfucking mind. So, Bill of Rights, infrastructure, business, all that shit needs to be changed. Okay? And the upper third row, Wi-Fi, gas and electric, and then cell phone cash payments. Okay? Education, realization of time being our greatest asset, and then also healthcare. All of those combined operates reparations. And so how we're going to end up paying for this, there's a couple of things that we need to come to an understanding for. And I have a three-sector argument. Okay? There is a free market, a bunch of free market suggestions, and I think all of these need to take effect. Okay? All of these understandings need to take effect in order for this to happen properly. And that's why I form a separation of argument as an independence portion of this, where the independence understanding is how we conclusively gain our freedom. Okay. So whatever funds that it takes to get to this point is what it takes. All right. And fuck this negotiation strategy that the moron has in effect. All right. With that said, There's free market suggestions. There's ideas specifically geared toward reparations, and there is a tax. Now, separation from the tax. You understand your taxes in a fashion where there's 7.5% taxes in some places, and there's 13 to 14% taxes in others. Okay, and the taxes are applied by the dollar. Okay, in this scenario, your taxes are only by the product, and it's only 1 penny per product, so it's a reinforcement, and it's paid off within 15 years. Okay, and it goes into the United States government. It doesn't go into our pockets. Okay, and it's a reinforcement mechanism for reparations specifically. Okay, and so it doesn't go in the pockets of the moron that's sitting inside the legislature going, "Oh my God, I can't wait to start fucking collecting this money," because the motherfuckers do that all day long today. It goes in a cash advance security that is managed by reparations organizations. Every product sold in America all year round for 15 years, this is paid off by itself. Okay? So now I'm not fucking with your bitch ass economy and your fucking fear factor and your how are we gonna pay for this fucking mentality. Alright? Because now, for free market suggestions, in order to drive the economy, we have specifically dedicated for reparations, just other pieces to the puzzle where we're able to make recommendation that these are large investments and they can also form reparations settlement money. These are huge things. These are things that everyone needs. So when that racist man starts forming his indifferent opinion and start acting like he has a better calculation of understanding and the jealousy starts taking over to the moron's mind, then we don't have this as a negative inference or understanding. We could just say, shut your ass up. And that's what I like to do. I like to be the person to say, shut your ass up. They don't like it, they can go sit in the jail. Right? You need people to replace the black people coming out. Put that dumbass in there that can't comprehend what the fuck we're talking about. The one that has a 6-point ability for genius. Let that motherfucker go sit in jail. Otherwise, start forming an understanding that this is for you. Okay? Mandatory book study. That is the first thing that I'm offering. My book, A Leap in the Fall, that will enable an ability to be extremely detailed in understanding that opens your new process to an intelligent society. Separate yourself from my anxiety. You got an excellence. Okay, and there is I just put a video out. I put it on beginning marketing, YouTube, beginning. You got to know how to spell it in order to get there. If you don't know how to spell it, you didn't hear it from me. A food and a drink dedicated specifically to reparations. Solar energy, a product dedicated that is a part of solar energy dedicated specifically to reparations. Marijuana, food, I think material, recreational purposes, and medical tax. So as long as you're going to legalize it, again, as long as you're going to, I don't agree with the legalization of marijuana. stuff for medical purposes, for edibles, and for material purposes. So if you're making clothing with hemp, I'm all for it. But if it has to do with absorption by smoke, I'm not for it. But I know that they're gonna start enabling that anyway. So with that said, tax that shit. Toilet paper tax. Women's menstrual tax. We need y'all, okay? I need you for more than that. Right in the middle of my business conversation. Baby food. And baby and adult diaper tax. Makeup tax. As well as blockchain ideas, specific idea within blockchain, within the metaverse, within holograms, specific ideas that are dedicated specifically to reparations. And then, of course, ideas within smart systems, thermostats, new thermostats, and security. All right. And so all just very small pieces to the puzzle. So it's hard to make the separation for three different understandings. Well, a portion of this is tax, a portion of this is ideas specific to. Okay? Right? We're talking about full tax so that we have something that backs us up. 1 penny per item. That goes into an established understanding for that is controlled by the government that is created through reparations. We're talking about the banks who are in control of the businesses that form so that the ideas are managed properly. Okay, and then we're talking about the people who establish the ideas so that we make this work properly. All right, and so that's the 5th column. All right, finally, the very first section and my favorite, the apology and repair. Okay. In the title, Indigenous Reparations for African Descendants of Enslavement. Okay. I really like this. You see, it's got the feathers coming right out the font. Okay. So the apology and repair. And then, of course, it has the references where I got most of my information and how I was able to gather this information and start coming up with the ideas to put this particular chart together. Okay? Most of this is creativity, while a lot of this comes from understanding that this actually occurred. Okay? And so the apology, I'm sorry, the holy occurrence of chattel slavery. I refuse and renounce adherence to all past, present, and future suggestions enabling or enforcing laws or acts that encourage enslavement. I reject any and all modeling and or construction of infrastructure and laws to and which cause apartheid. I apologize for the planning, stalking, hunting, poisoning, capturing, sickening, murdering, defrauding, forcing false disbeliefs and forceful delusion, racism, bigotry, discrimination, defamation, unlawful and unethical enforcement and reinforcement of chattel slavery and apartheid. Moreover, fraud, lack of income, which occurred due to chattel slavery and apartheid. From hereforth, I will support, project, and adhere to all suggestions which protect from death, abuse, work by force, lack of well-being, and negligence. Okay, and then the repair. Together we will reconstruct the United States Constitution and the Bill of Rights. Within new infrastructure, we will secure there are no projections, no suggestions based on causing and or enforcing humanistic enslavement or apartheid. Thoroughly research to find, secure, and properly distribute any beneficiary will left to slaves, former slaves, and or their heirs. Support and provide compensation to offer stability, at which point the abused citizen and or their descendant would be if violations had not occurred. Upon prognosis of full repair, enable research to conclude answer for actual home and choice to return or retitle the citizen. Set all laws to deduce assured such violations do not reoccur. Okay? And of course, several different websites that you're able to go to. I went to Ice Cube's website. I was actually able to see that there's something going on there. I don't know if it's still going on there. I'll have to actually check. I don't have his permission to advertise this. So, and even if he doesn't mind, because that's what social media is about, this is huge and there's a problem there. And so I don't know, I have actually reached out to him to make a correction to make sure of whether or not that's supposed to be going on there. We will see for future understanding what happens. This is actually going to be made into a template, and it will be projected in several different formats, different color schemas. It's for the school students to be able to manipulate, so that it offers them the ability to participate and memorize this. Okay, but I will actually be making it in a fashion so that it can actually be manipulated. Okay, as well as offer the center portion, which is the timeline, the map and responsibility section, that also has a graph, a time graph, as for what it looks like, and my vision, and how long it will take with the new economy forming, how that will rise within the 100 years, and then ADO's reparations, and what point I think we should actually be paid off early, but the way the United States government works, it becomes a ridiculing situation, and I'm becoming extremely tired of being the ridiculer, so I'm trying to do something about it, and here we are, transitioning out of homelessness. So this is where we're at, people. Almost complete. I'll be sending this out in proper color format to my educational centers. So look out. Blessings and success.